Hello and welcome everyone to the Friday, June 28th edition of the Contributor Comms team meeting. A reminder that we do operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. To start things off here, we usually like to have an opportunity for everyone on the call to introduce yourselves if you would like to, totally optional. I will kick things off. I'm Chasm Fields. My pronouns are she, her. And this meeting is the meeting for the Contributor Comms subproject of SIG ContribEx. I am a co-lead of this subproject and a co-chair of the overarching special interest group. The point of this group is to make sure that contributors within the Kubernetes community understand what's going on in the community, and to some degree making sure that folks externally know about the awesome work that contributors are doing, which reminds me that I haven't done anything with Kubernetes IO in a bit. I'm going to put that on my list.
I set up the automation, so stuff should be happening.
Yeah, there's stuff happening. Thank you for
good.
doing that.
No problem.
We should probably try to do other posts on that more regularly.
So I'm sad Sandeep isn't here because he actually brought that up last meeting, like doing some campaigns in
Thank
comms.
you, Sandeep. Yeah, we've talked about needing to do that, but we haven't done it.
Yeah, like I would like to talk about it next week, but I'm not sure how to remember that. Or not next week, the week after, which I'll totally forget. So yeah.
Yeah, there are several ideas that we've had since we started taking over that account for ways that we could do that. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Let's continue with introductions. Anyone else would like to go?
I will intro myself. Mario, you reminded me of a very funny video of somebody that had a suspended license and pulling up to their hearing in court via Zoom, driving in their car. Yeah. I'm Chris Short, pronouns he, him. I am also a co-lead of this sub-project, the Contributor Comms team. I have been around the Kubernetes block more times than I can count. And I work in open source at AWS. Someone else, please go. Or not.
I guess I can go next. Yeah. I'm Sharuz. This is the second time I'm attending the Comms Weekly call. Yeah. So I'm a solutions engineer, architect, sometimes either, sometimes neither. Based in Germany, Frankfurt. I've been working with Kubernetes for a couple of years now, and I'm interested in control plane stuff. So that's why I chose to write a blog on API machinery, but apparently there was already a blog on it, but I'm studying it now, and hopefully there will be some more blogs or contributions or actual code from me for the Kubernetes project going forward.
Awesome. That's great.
Welcome. Fantastic. Excited to have you. We'll talk more about that later. Anyone else?
Hey, I'm Sylvester Caroline. I've been, I think, 4th or 5th meeting now, listening in, just trying to get up to speed on things, trying to get more involved in the Kubernetes side. I also contribute on the Minikube side as well. I've been in IT a long time, IT manager. Sorry, Chris, was that a question?
No, I didn't realize you were part of Minikube. Sorry.
Yeah. Been in IT a long time, IT manager now, but I still like keeping my hands on coding because that's why I enjoy it. That's me. Thanks.
Cool. Hi, I'm Mario. I am part of SIG Intra, and I am shadow for the lead for the sub-project, so comms. And I work for Kubernetes and do various stuff there. He, him.
Well done. Anyone else?
Hello everyone. My name is Arvind. I'm a recent joinee of the group, and I'm the current blogging shadow as well. Excited to be here, and my pronouns are he, him. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Do we have anyone else who would like to introduce themselves today?
Hello, my name is Chibuzo. I'm also like a recent joinee of the team. Thanks to Kathleen. She has been guiding me. And I've not been able to make it for the past few weeks. I've been a little bit unstable. But I guess I'll be more frequent from now on. So nice to meet you all.
Likewise.
Welcome. Excited to have you.
Very happy you're here. Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? All right, we'll move on into the agenda for today then, assuming that I haven't forgotten any other housekeeping items.
I don't think so.
Perfect. All right, so welcome to the call, everyone. We're excited that you're here. Let's dive into our notes. Let me grab that link again and toss that in the chat for anyone who might have missed it. If you do have anything that you would like to discuss, feel free to add it into the notes now, or if you aren't able to edit the document, just let us know in chat. We'll make sure that we get it added in there. So first thing in new items, thank you very much, Chris, for adding this. Next week, Thursday is actually a US holiday, but a lot of us get the Friday off as well. And so so we're not going to have a meeting next week. I just went ahead and removed it from the calendar. Everyone can enjoy a little break on that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
So no meeting next week. Normally we're weekly.
Yeah, so the next item is from me. So Chad was here last week to talk about like YouTube admin things and becoming an admin because we only have 3 of us right now. And he and Nigel met yesterday. And, you know, my opinion, I haven't heard from Nigel or Chad yet today. I was busy. I was supposed to go, but I got yanked into another meeting. I feel like Chad has more than enough YouTube and video recording experience just based on the works he has put out. The thing we need to do is kind of get him into the org. And I put a few things down here for, you know, contributions that could get him into the org pretty quickly. I feel like doing a bunch of Mermaid.js diagrams of Zapier would be a great contribution and one that I have not been able to make yet. So why not that? Also, yeah, we could do blogs. I just don't know what Chad wants to do, right? Like, it's entirely up to him. So, yeah, the issues and docs and such, also like working on the Kubernetes IO account policy, like having him open the PR might be smart. I don't know. So yeah, there's that. And hopefully we will have a new full-fledged YouTube admin here pretty soon. Yeah, that's all I think I got on that.
Wonderful. Yeah, Chris mentioned in here that social media is another area where Chad could make some contributions and go for org membership. Not sure who's writing there, but that sounds like something that we can add into the Kubernetes IO projects item down here at the bottom.
Yes. Yes,
We'll come back to that. Wonderful. Glad to hear that we have someone interested in YouTube administration who is getting ramped up. Any questions, comments about that? Awesome. The next item on our list is the SIG API machinery blog. So I put this in. Thank you very much, Charus, for being interested in writing a new blog about API machinery. You had reached out in the Slack channel about the interest, and I didn't notice until like days later that we have an API machinery blog that is already like about to be published. So what I suggested in Slack kind of poorly was that So for spotlights, we have this apparently unwritten rule, which we really need to fix, that we usually try to not do the same spotlight blog within about 2 years. But that doesn't mean that we can't do blogs on similar topics, just that we should probably frame them slightly differently. So what I suggested in Slack is maybe we can ask the SIG API machinery chairs if there are any particular projects that they think need highlighting in a blog. And Federico also suggested, I think, a sub-project that could work as a blog. So welcome, Sharuz. Would you like to say anything else about your
Yeah,
interest in writing this
exactly.
blog?
Following your suggestion or Federico's suggestion, I'm not sure who was the source, but I basically asked the
Teamwork.
I asked on their SIG channel, Slack channel, no answer yet. I didn't mention anybody. I didn't want to be like too noisy, pushy. So I will probably mention them if nothing happens, they don't react. Yeah, and I also read the already in progress. The pull request is still open from Federico on API machinery. That spotlight blog, and basically I realized that it's more of a like a how did the SIG evolve throughout these years, and it's not really delving into details of sub projects and like more details around the like how's the clients being evolved, how's like the yeah. So I guess there would be a need for a further blog if people usually want to contribute to the control plane side of things. But yeah, hopefully there will be some answer. I know one of the technical leads from a CNCF project or company, Upbound, Stefan. I basically living very close to where I live, so maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Sounds
I know
like a great-
Stefan. Yeah.
That sounds like a great angle to take for it. I am in favor. For the spotlights, we usually end up interviewing the co-chairs of the SIG, but we're open to interviewing anyone for them. So if you're connected with Stefan, feel free to ask him directly, like, hey, this is the idea that I have. Does this sound like something that would resonate with the SIG? We're pretty flexible here, really.
Yeah.
Follow up on that, yeah.
Yeah, and like the SIGs are doing stuff all the time. Like just because we've done a spotlight within a year, we could say, SIG architecture, new thing, blog post, done. That's a good model, I think.
We need to clarify that in our guidelines of like, we have a rough guideline of probably don't do another spotlight on the same SIG within a year or two, but there are exceptions like this. I don't know how to word that exactly, but we'll be thinking about that, and we should try not to let that fall.
Yeah, new initiatives, I think might be like new initiatives from the project, new outputs,
new initiatives,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, a different angle can also work. We'll have to decide how we want to word that.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you very much also, Sharuz, for bringing that to our attention.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to write that down real quick so that I hopefully remember a little bit better. Spotlight guidelines. That should be enough. Thank you. All right. I've also reminded Federico about it. He usually keeps us on task. He's out at the moment, but when he gets back, I bet he will help us remember.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So any other questions about the SIG API machinery blog that'll be starting up? All right. The last item on new items for now is not really a new item, but as we were talking about earlier, was that on the recording or not? I'm not sure anymore.
I don't remember.
It was on the recording because it was when I did my introduction.
There we go.
We took over Kubernetes IO, which is the official account of Kubernetes as a project on X.
Yes.
Which I said without laughing. Laughed afterwards. And so that is a new channel for us. It's a very large channel. It's got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers. We really want to do cool stuff with it. So we had some ideas when we first took it on, of course, as one does, about cool projects of content that we could put on there. But we haven't really been able to make progress with any of it. It's been busy. And one thing standing in the way of that, though, is getting the guidelines for who has access to that account figured out. Because I've been very hesitant to add more people to it until we get like some solid guidelines on like these are the
These are the
characteristics, the
things,
experience that you should have in order to work with this account, because it's so large and so visible. We wouldn't want to enable people to make dumb mistakes like I already have with it.
Oh God. But like the last thing we want to do.
It was my idea. It was my idea. I take full responsibility. It was my idea, and Caslin just thought like, this sounds like a good idea.
Teamwork on mistakes. We do it.
Yes. But keep in
I'm kind of
mind,
glad.
we are the team that also responds to those mistakes. So if you make one, you're in the right place.
And we all make them at some point or another. Honestly, it was a pretty good one to make to start out with. So I do appreciate that. Kind of like how for my first talk at a conference, I fell off the stage. That was a good start.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how that worked.
Oh God.
Actually, I had a talk at the Kubernetes birthday party in Munich, and I was talking about the Kubernetes project, and they were asking me actually. They recognized that the account got deleted, and what did happen, and I basically explained it, what did happen, and everyone was laughing. So everyone was like, "Yeah, this is weird that this is happening, but it's a fun thing." So I noticed.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
We should do it again.
It was great advertising for the birthday.
Yeah.
For context, for folks who may have missed it, the account got locked down on X because I set the birthday of the account to the actual birthday of Twitter or of Kubernetes, which makes it 10 years old, which 10-year-olds are not allowed on Twitter. So the account got shut down for like 2 days, and it looked like it had never existed at all, and it became kind of a whole thing. But luckily they fixed it within a couple of days.
Yeah, it was a quick recovery in the grand scheme of things at X these days.
Amazing. So that aside, Mario had already drafted some guidelines on how we should share access to that account, which I have ignored for like 6 weeks now. It's just been so busy.
I've reviewed it twice, by the way.
Good job.
So don't feel bad.
Thank you. That's why we have multiple folks who can do these things, which is the goal of these guidelines, is having multiple folks who can do these things. Good. So if you've reviewed it twice, do you know what the current state of it is?
There's a bunch of comments still. Last I looked at it, let's see.
Yeah. The last comments that you made, I still need to put into the document, but I would go ahead basically and put it into the document, and then we create a draft pull request, and generally people.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and roll forward with it. It sounds like.
I mean, I think it's in pretty good shape once the comments are resolved, to be honest. I think there's stuff in there that you would catch that I wouldn't, though. So
yeah, I definitely need to review it too.
Please just at least take a look at it, right? Like just read it and see if anything stands out to you.
I can do that today. Using the word guidelines today far more than I do in the average day. So thank you everyone for that. All right, I put that on my to-do list. Hopefully I can give that a quick review today. So getting that settled for a guide where we can point folks so that we can say, this is what you need in order to get access to that account, should also help us to start up some projects where we'll post regular content on that account. So we have had a few ideas about things that we could do. Someone put in here earlier, posting about old blog spotlights. Honestly, that's better for Kate's contributors, but it's not bad for Kubernetes IO. It could be one thing that we do,
No.
but it's not the top priority project. We'll have to think about what projects we want to pursue for that. The unique thing about Kubernetes IO compared to a lot of our other social media is that Kubernetes IO is primarily an end user audience, and a very large one. Our other accounts are primarily focused on a contributor audience. They are public, so anyone can see them, but they are geared toward contributor news by and for contributors, whereas Kubernetes IO doesn't have that restriction. It should be a little bit more focused on externally interesting things about Kubernetes. So there's some flexibility there with the kinds of things we could post about, which we should make use of. We'll have to think about that. You don't have to solve that problem right now. We're already halfway through the meeting. We should probably move on. But any other questions or comments about Kubernetes IO?
Arpit asked in chat,
Oh,
can we
thank you.
do Twitter Spaces like Kubernetes Pod? In my opinion, like Twitter Spaces are too exclusive. I wouldn't want to do a Twitter Space. I'd want to do something broader that hits multiple networks, or at least something that can be publicly accessible without a login and getting bombarded with ads and such.
That is
but
a
yeah,
good point. They are kind of.
Also,
Go ahead.
so also, I think that Twitter Spaces, especially when you do like an online communication thing, as it's also part that we said that we don't want to reply to comments or don't want to reply to messages. And I think Twitter Spaces gives us the problem that this could be opinionated, right?
Opinionated in what way?
But when someone of us is, I mean, Twitter Spaces, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have a hangout session and you talk about things, right? This is Twitter Spaces, or yeah. And if we go there as individuals in a Twitter space and have like opinions in a live chat, it could be opinionated by one person that is in this Twitter space, and not like because the usual everything that we say in the that we post in the Kubernetes IO account is reviewed by at least another person. And if you do a Twitter space where people are talking, then it's live, but you can't review it and check it for opinionated messaging if we act as the main Kubernetes IO account.
Yeah, we'd probably want to have at least a couple of hosts who are very familiar with social media and how to not imply that they imply any associations on behalf of the project, which is a tricky thing to do that comes with experience. But also that would kind of make, if we had like a couple of regular hosts, that would kind of make them like the face of the Kubernetes project, and we don't want to kingmake in that way. We like to talk about how our social media accounts can be kingmakers. We have a lot of power and a lot of influence as a project. A lot of folks know Kubernetes. And so if the project seems to have an opinion that actually comes from an individual, it's a huge problem.
Right.
So we definitely want to avoid that. And we probably want to avoid implying that any specific members of our community are like the face of Kubernetes as a project. So I think there are a variety of issues with Twitter Spaces. Also that, like Chris said, they're not as publicly accessible as we usually like for Kubernetes project things to be. And they also don't continue to exist afterward, which can be good in some cases. But I mean, most Kubernetes work is done in public and available long-term. We put all of our meetings on YouTube, which is why we're recording, which I didn't mention at the beginning. There's a housekeeping item I missed. So there's a variety of issues. So I would lean toward no Twitter Spaces for now. We can always reevaluate, but thank you, Arpit, for bringing it up so that we could discuss it.
Yeah. And maybe we should write that down somewhere, like in our social
Mhm.
media guidelines. Like,
Absolutely.
I know LinkedIn things require a login. I know Twitter requires a login. Pretty sure whatever, you can watch YouTube without a login though, right? Like you can do. I think that's the barrier to entry these days. Like, is it actually public facing?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we already have in the draft for the guidelines we have that we don't point or it is the goal to not point to individuals. And I would basically extend this paragraph about also the reasoning behind why not Twitter Spaces, because this would, as you say, give a face to the project, which could be misleading.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up as well. Making folks look like the face of the project. Okay, I added that note in. Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments on Twitter Spaces before we move into updates and big wins?
There was a discussion that Chris pointed out that Threads is there.
Yeah.
Threads.
So
Yeah. Oh, that is a good point. Thank you.
And I know that we talked at one point about Blue Sky. I can remember, but we are still waiting for an integration there. And maybe we should eventually discuss if we want to expand to other social media networks. But for this, we would firstly need to do a research if even there is a community that would consume it, because as Chris also mentioned, that it's a cost factor, because any channel that we add, we need to get funding.
Very good point, which is
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted to dive into on this. I do think that a significant portion of our community is on Blue Sky. I don't know that I believe that a significant portion of our community is on Threads. Also, a couple of weeks ago, we had a big discussion about Instagram and about how we don't want to run an Instagram, which we should also write down somewhere. Because we don't want to have a image focused account, and Threads is also very closely tied to Instagram, which makes it a little bit awkward. So a couple of thoughts there. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, no, like I just took a note to update the social media guidelines because we have mentioned numerous things in this meeting that need to go in there at this point.
Thank you. Thoughts on Threads for our community? Do you think it's something that we should do? Any?
Not right now. I don't think there's enough
I agree.
like presence.
I maybe would spend sorry, go ahead.
No, I just don't think there's enough presence there right now. I could be wrong. I haven't done.
Are you talking about Twitter threads?
No,
The Instagram?
Facebook. Facebook created a Twitter like thing
Threads.net.
called Threads.
Yeah.
Confusing. Go ahead, Mario.
Because it's in my I only know it because it's in my Instagram. So I tightly tie it to Instagram. I don't
That's true.
Personally, I don't even tie it to Facebook. Right?
Yeah. I also use it
point.
the same way that I use Instagram to follow artists.
Maybe a question, and this goes sadly in your direction, Kathleen and Chris, because you're working in the bigger companies that are doing like advertisement. It would be interesting if any of your departments are aiming at those social media networks, because I think that if we find that like Amazon or Google or Red Hat or wherever are looking into with the marketing team looking into this, then they do the research, right? So we could just profit out of, are the big tech companies doing this or not? And if they don't, then we don't even need to consider it.
That's a fair point.
That's a good point. I think the way social media is run here at Amazon, there's not going to be any interest in it right now. Right.
Same in Google.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the way it works here and often other places, like basically a team owns an account. And like AWS Open, my team owns that. But it's not like I can go out and tweet something. There's only 2 people on the account that can actually send out stuff, right? Like I have to suggest stuff to them, and we have a process for that. But the idea of creating another account on another platform, I feel like would get shot down immediately, just at the idea stage. So that's how it is here.
I'm not deeply tied into it enough, but I imagine it's something like that.
Yeah.
And I would prefer not to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's already an answer, in my opinion.
Yep. I agree. So we have evaluated threads and we think, no, we should probably record that somewhere.
Mhm.
Also, I got an idea from the word thread because I assumed you are talking about Twitter thread. So we can do like this, like we can ask LKWD folks, like we can summarize the LKWD in form of a Twitter thread and we can post it.
That is an interesting idea. And we can do threads on Buffer now, right? They added the ability to do multiple posts on X.
Yeah. So I hate to be tool chasing right now, but I've been using Fedica for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah, right.
And that might be more economical. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it now, because basically any network they attach to, which is more than Buffer, they had Blue Sky, they have Threads before Buffer did. The one thing they do is like free accounts. There's no limit on the number of social media accounts you add. It's basically you have an account and here's the level of whatever you can do. And like free accounts, you can't schedule more than 10 posts and that kind of thing. But it doesn't matter how many networks you add, it doesn't change the price, which I think is it's going to be a compelling story at some point. Right? Like once we start adding up the bill for Buffer and just comparing it, do I want to replatform? No, because the way automation is done with Fedica is not very friendly. It's all RSS feed based, right? So you basically connect an RSS feed to quote pipeline, which is essentially a schedule, and that's it. Like you can add some hashtags at the end. There's no like tweaking we can do of any type. It's very limited, but it's definitely becoming an increasingly likely option the more accounts we add to Buffer.
Can you send me the name again, because I didn't get it. So
Yeah, sorry.
It's like or in the notes. It's
yeah,
Yeah,
I'll put it.
it's in the notes as well.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you
I
very
dropped
much
it
for
in
that.
chat too. So yeah.
All right, so a few things to catch up on there. So coming back to the original question though, LWKD summary project for like Kubernetes IO or probably Kate's contributors. I like the idea. We do have folks who are already doing LWKD, so that might be a relatively light lift for them to work on. So I'm in favor. We should probably mention the idea in Slack and see if anyone wants to just try it out. We have Buffer. You can go ahead and write these threads. We just have to approve them. So all we need is someone who's willing to do it. So I'm in favor of that project. And then Fedica. Go ahead.
I can have a look at the LWKD thing, because I'm usually writing the adjacent updates anyway. So I'm looking into LWKD every Monday.
Awesome. That would be great. So Mario, interested in kicking that off? Trying it out? Cool. We can mention it on Slack as well so that we have a clearer record of it. And if you need any help around reminders and stuff, let us know. We'll try to help each other. So any other questions about LWKD social media campaign before I move back to Fedica? Cool. So Fedica sounds like an interesting tool that we should evaluate. It sounds like there are some financial reasons it might be compelling, but automation is a huge use case for us. So if there's friction there, that could prevent us from moving over to that. So we'd need to do kind of a full evaluation of like, here are the types of things that we want to do. Here's how they'd work on Fedica. Here's where there would be friction. Here's where it would be better. So it'd be a whole project, which we don't need to do right now. I like the idea. Does that sound good to you, Chris? Maybe come back to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
After
I
the
think-
holidays, maybe.
Yeah, like
The holiday.
to be honest, I think it'll be like a next 6 months or after thing. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's probably going to take us a while to do that. And that's fine. We have a good solution right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a great solution right now, and there's no reason to change until price becomes prohibitive.
And then one more thing from the chat. Arpit asked about Instagram. We had talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned it in our discussion a few minutes ago. Our discussion a couple of weeks ago was very much no, because we don't want to deal with image-based social media. We would have to, I don't know, do screenshots, creating images for that would be very time consuming. We definitely don't want to use AI for image generation. We don't want to touch that legal battle at all. So
No.
so we definitely are not very interested in doing Instagram right now, at least. If we had someone who was like very passionate about all I want to do is create art, even then I wouldn't want to, because they would have to be very deep in the project and understand like the kinds of things that we want to promote there and stuff. That was another item from our discussion actually about it, was the way that I ended up becoming social media lead is because I am terminally online on Twitter. And so when you add a new when you add a new type of social media, you kind of need to have someone who's just like very into that area. Like when we brought up LinkedIn, we actually had someone come in who is very into LinkedIn to tell us a little bit about the platform, because we don't really have that on our team, but we're taking it over anyway because there was already an account and we just had to take it over. Yeah, so I think Instagram, we don't really have the requisite expertise, and there are several challenges with the format of Instagram that we wouldn't want to deal with at this time.
And
question it. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to answer Sharu's question real quick. We are already on
We have
Mastodon.
Mastodon.
Yeah. So it's just Kate's contributors on the hackyderm.io server.
Go ahead, Mario.
That's what I wanted to say.
Oh, perfect.
Sorry.
There might be more that we should do with our Mastodon account. I am not terminally online on Mastodon. I feel like people don't know that we exist there. So there's probably some advertising that we could do somehow to the Mastodon folks. Maybe ask the folks in our community who are on Mastodon to, follow the account and promote it.
And then put out one of the following messages. We can give them some canned statements, maybe.
Yeah, advertising sounds a little wrong on Mastodon, but like just to let people know that it exists.
Marketing, maybe? I don't know.
Isn't there also the issue still open that we need to add these social media channels to the website?
That is a good point.
That is a very, very gnarly issue, though.
Oh, was it?
I don't remember. Like, it's actually there. When you go and look at the source code, it's there. It's just not being displayed. Or it's configured. Like, I should say it's configured and not, quote, there. So it should be there, but it's not. And I have no idea why. And I talked to Tim about it, Tim Bannister, very briefly. But I think somebody on SIG Doc's website needs to take that and not necessarily us, because something's going on there.
A good point. I have a cat on my lap now, and she is sniffing my headphone cord. Hopefully
Oh,
she doesn't attack it.
that's not going to be a disaster anytime soon. No.
Oh, yep, she's biting it. Oh, yep. But yes, so we need to talk with the website folks about that, huh? She's biting the cord. I accept this as my life now. There we go. She's leaving. Very good. All right. So I made the note about needing to check on the social media for the website, which also reminds me, we are 46 minutes into this meeting. We haven't even gotten to the board. But also reminds me that we have a kind of sub-project of our sub-project of the website, which we should probably, I guess the tech lead is kind of supposed to do that. I don't know. It feels like it needs its own position to have more focus on it.
Yeah, it lies with me, and we started a discussion in Paris, and I think the discussion died a little bit down. So I just need to revive it. I think the plan is still we get everything fixed until Salt Lake City. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we should do more to make this a regular area of work in our team. That's what I'm going to say. Any questions, comments on that? Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll have to do some work there for the contributor summit. So I guess we'll see how that's going for you, Mario.
I think we are good currently. No, everything is up to date. We have the registration and the CFP is in. Everything is updated. FAQ is updated. I think the next thing that is missing is the issue for the unconference, but I don't think that anyone yet created this. Oh, which reminds me that I will take this to the meeting on Monday, so that people can start putting in unconference topics. And we still need an answer from SIG Docs if DocsPrint is happening or not. That's the only thing that is currently on the website, which might not be accurate.
Okie dokie. Good to know as well. So DocsPrint and unconference. Noted. Awesome. So with that, let's move into our updates and big wins section of our discussion period. I don't think we're going to make it to the board today. But
I think that's fine. Last week it was a little kind of breezed over. We did it really fast. So
okay.
anyways,
We'll see.
Which thing? Sorry. Updates, big
first
wins.
thing in updates and big wins.
Yes, great job running the meeting last week, Arpit. Between Arpit and Mario, I feel like we have good coverage if Kaslin and I are out for whatever reason. Maybe we should consider having a meeting when there are U.S. holidays in the future. I don't know how Kaslin feels about that or anyone else, but something to think about.
Fair point.
Oh, I'm fine doing the meeting next week if there's an interest.
If you want to, then
yeah, if
I can fix that.
If there's enough people, sure. I'll go back and read the notes just like I do every week.
Yeah, would folks be up to meet next week? Let us know in the chat or with thumbs up.
Something.
We've got at least one thumbs up.
Right. Okay. Arvind and Mario and yeah.
Hey, that's a party right there.
That's 3. So yeah. Not Sylvester, you'll be out of town. I get it. It's a US holiday. Yeah. All
right. Maybe I'll another thumbs up here. All right.
Yeah,
we've got at least
good.
3.
Like
okay, 4.
Yeah, 4 people.
That's a meeting right there.
That's a meeting. Yeah. Perfect.
All right. So I will put that back on the calendar. What was that? It'll be recorded.
Will that meeting be recorded?
Yes.
Yes. Mario will.
Yes.
Please don't forget to hit record.
You have the key? Okay.
I have the key.
Cool.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you very much, Arpit and Mario, for being willing to take on meeting running. By the way, meeting does not have to be run by a sub-project lead. It kind of makes sense. Sub-project leads should be able to run the meeting, but we don't have to be the ones running it. So if you're interested in running meetings, let us know and we'll try to make sure that you get that experience.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right. So I'll add that back to the calendar, actually. We will meet next week.
Can't wait to watch it. I do get a daily digest of stuff from YouTube, so yeah.
All right, I struck through that item in the new items. And I'll go fix that after this. Let me put that on my to-do list real quick. Otherwise, it will be gone after I close this meeting. I'll have to figure out how to add that back to the calendar. I can just create one, I guess. All right, next item in updates and big wins is Mario, Gen AI usage policy for SIG docs and SIG ContribEx.
Yes, we are close, which means that I think there's one more point left open where people are actively discussing it. To be honest, I don't have really an opinion on the discussed topic. So I'm open to just put in whatever the people say, but I feel that there's like two parties in the discussion there, and we just need to come up with a reasonable idea that
compromise
resonates with most of them. And yeah, exactly. And then we will put it into a PR anyways, which will again lead to more input from other folks, I guess. But I would rather move forward with it, and because on the other, most of the points everyone agreed, or it seemed that everyone agreed on most of the points.
Cool. For some context, we're trying to create some guidelines, another usage of that word, around how the community views Gen AI usage with content creation, like with creating blogs and things like that. We acknowledge that they can be very useful tools for brainstorming, for generating ideas, and in some ways for checking kind of language usage, like does this make sense in the target language if you're not familiar with language or something like that. There are a variety of uses of AI which are very valid, but we don't want things that are like completely AI generated. We want to have significant community influence over any content that's being posted by the community. So we're trying to create some guidelines that kind of toe that line of what do we allow and what do we not, and how do we make that clear to folks. So that discussion is ongoing.
Didn't we talk about
Thank you, Mario.
scanners last time that could detect?
Scanners?
Yeah.
Like grammar
Oh,
tools?
no, but tools to detect if something's.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yes,
like,
yes.
Yeah, we've got to recommend some tools to suggest
okay,
what tools are okay to use, what tools are not okay to use, and, have that language. And Mario's done a good job of this. Have that language that is like, this is an open-ended list. Like, and tools similar to this will also, be rejected kind of thing.
Yeah, and also lists of like, here's what we're going to check your tool against, or your content against. Like, here's the tool that we use to check for AI generated content if we do use a tool for that, so that folks can do that check themselves.
Right.
I think we'd probably want to do that. I don't know if that's
there's
included.
There's also the point of flagging content that has partly AI generated things in it, so that we can figure out in the future the parts that were actually created with AI help, if we run in any legal problems in like 5 years, because things change and we need to update all of the posts that were done with the help of AI, and we cannot find them if we don't flag them directly from the beginning.
Kind of side tangent note, Sharuz, I love your face right now. Like, what have I gotten myself into? That's how I feel at this stage of the meeting.
I was reading something in like a separate screen. I wasn't reacting to what you guys were saying.
In my head
Fair
canon,
enough.
you were just reflecting my mental state.
Correct.
That's kind of especially how I feel about this Gen AI guideline business. Very challenging. Thank you, Mario, for leading that. I think your neutrality on it is probably makes you a good person to kind of lead the creation of the document so that you can moderate between the parties. Cool. So any other comments on that? I think that's going to be a discussion that goes on for at least a couple more weeks.
Oh yeah, and it'll come up from time to time, but
and we'll keep bringing it up in here because it's important to the work that we do, creating and moderating and helping with the creation of content. So we'll keep an eye on it. And then there are two more items in these last 4 minutes, just in the notes section from Federico, who joins us through async Slack updates today. So one item from him was that he pinged SIG docs for the API Machinery Spotlight review, which is currently in progress. So it's at a stage where the whole thing has been written. It's gone through at least probably a review or two from our team and now needs review from SIG docs, which is close to the end of the cycle of that blog. And then the other item from him is waiting on etcd and SIG architecture spotlights. SIG architecture is the one where he's doing each sub-project individually. So there's like 5 or 6 of those, and he only has like 2 left. And something about plus security. There's a SIG security spotlight that we've been trying to get done. One person took it on and then they got busy and weren't able to do it. And so it's kind of been dropped, I think, a couple of times. But thank you, Federico, for working on so many different spotlights and making sure that they're all making progress. Any questions or comments about Federico's spotlights? Cool. We have 2 minutes left. I think I'll take a quick look at the board, which is linked there in the notes if you want to take a look at it yourself to see if there's anything that we particularly want to call out. There's only 4 things in the review column, so I'll at least name them out real quickly. The shadowing guide for blogging, I had reviewed that. It looks like it still hasn't been merged yet. I'm gonna check the status on that real fast. There were a few more comments on that. Thank you very much, Arvin, for reviewing that as well. Especially folks who are interested in becoming shadows for blogging. Great to have those reviews on here. So it looks like there are some open comments on that, which maybe we should remind Federico about since he's been out. He might not have seen them. And then the only other thing is the SIG API Machinery Spotlight article, which we've already discussed and ready for review. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff in progress. Ooh, one of them is the help wanted posts, which maybe someday we'll actually work on.
yeah.
And the guidelines for usage of Kubernetes IO Twitter. I guess that's kind of in review, but not really. All right. So I think that's good for today. Are there any last minute items in literally the last minute of our call that folks would like on the recording? Oh,
I just want to say you're all
ahead.
very awesome, and I just put a win in our team wins channel about building the team up to the point where it can run without the leads administrating the meeting and so forth, so on. It's very, very awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you all for being so engaged and for being here. And we are at time. There was one more thing that I wanted to call out real quick, since we do have a couple of folks who are newer to our group. And And that is our SIG Spotlight blog series is a wonderful opportunity for new folks to get involved with the project. It's an opportunity for you to check out a different SIG, learn about it, write out what you learned, and share it with the community in a public blog. So you get a publicly facing artifact that says, I contributed to the Kubernetes community.
Right.
You get to learn, and the SIG gets a publicly facing artifact about their work that kind of promotes them. So it's a win-win for everybody. So if you need some work to do, let us know in Slack that you want to do one of those, and we'll help you figure out how to do it.
Also, as an add-on to that, I know a lot of the companies I've worked for in the past have greatly appreciated, in parentheses, the company name next to your name. So if you are wondering what your company might get out of this, to give yourself time, you might want to mention that your employer is also listed in the author tag. Yeah.
Yeah. A way to say, this is something that I want to do to your company, and see if they'll help support you doing it. If that is an interesting path for you. Good call out. Thank you very much, Chris. And we are now a minute over. So last chance for anything on the recording. Awesome. Thank you all for joining today. And we're going to say goodbye to our friends on YouTube. That's the wrong thing. All right. Bye, YouTube.